Hello and welcome to another reflection coming from the manse. Yesterday I talked about the 23rd Psalm, and over the next few days we're going to be looking at that psalm. And that's a reminder of the importance of sheep and shepherding as a motif and as a theme within the scriptures. There are literally hundreds of references to these. And that's an important and an amazing phenomenon, really. Now, from a very early age, I've always been interested in sheep and shepherding. First thing I looked for in visiting the country were the sheep on the hills or in the fields. And of course, once I discovered faith, the next thing I looked for in approaching a small village was the church spire. Because as well as wanting to see the sheep on the hills, whenever I visited a village, as well as, or before the coffee shop, the first stop would be the church to go in. And there's something really special in these country churches when they're open just to sit and to be still and to reflect. And these two icons, in a sense, the church and also sheep and shepherding, have been quite important in my life. When I was very young, I imagined myself as a shepherd. I remember being on holiday with my parents in the Scottish borders and seeing a shepherd in the evening sunshine, leaning on a fence, smoking a pipe with his dog sitting by his side as he studied the sheep in the field. He just looked so content and at one with the moment. I wanted to be that man. Thankfully, I didn't try to become a shepherd, because had I done so, the unfolding drama would have looked very much like an episode from Mr. Bean down on the farm, as I am completely impractical in most things. But I have become a shepherd, in a sense, a spiritual shepherd, of two-legged creatures, and they're harder to round up and to control than the four-legged variety. But the 23rd Psalm gives us an indication that David, who wrote it, saw his God as a shepherd, as he himself was a shepherd. Now, both the real shepherds and the spiritual shepherds are going through difficulties at the moment. And this crisis that we're going through is going to affect both. And it's quite important that we perhaps tease some of these issues out. Firstly, the spiritual shepherds. There is a shepherding term referring to sheep being attached to the land. It's heft and hefted. James Rebanks, the shepherd from Cumbria, in his wonderful book The Shepherd's Life, traces this term back to a Viking word, heft, which is linked to tradition. Now, heft is a piece of land that an animal is attached to, and for an animal to be hefted means that's where it was born and naturally is drawn to from then on. And human beings, we are hefted too, because if heft goes back to the word tradition in Norse, then traditions are things that heft us. Tertullian the Great, church father, writing in North Africa of all places about AD 200, refers to the fact that he had heard stories that there were Christians north of the Roman wall, which can only mean Scotland. And if these reports were true, then the Christian faith has been in our land for a long, long time. And the Christian tradition has influenced our country for generation after generation. And in so many ways, consciously and unconsciously, we've been hefted to that tradition. And we lose that at our peril. Therefore, in this time of crisis, it's good for us to reflect on what really is important and what matters. There's been a lot of talk recently about food issues. And as James Rebanks said in a recent article, that in this crisis, we've moved over a matter of weeks from talking about not needing farmers because we'll import all our food to, oh, we've got to have farmers, and the whole thing about buying locally and everything being sourced there. That's good news for the farmers. But what of the church? The churches are closed at the moment, but the faith is still alive. But what about spiritual shepherds and the spiritual background to that? Is our nation going to lose out on that? Are more and more churches never going to open again? Will this be a crisis that sees many of them not being able to recover from this crisis? Well, it's all to do with faith. And the 23rd Psalm is an invitation to us. Try reading it. I'm sure you've all got a Bible somewhere in the house. Open it up. Have a wee read of the 23rd Psalm. It has an immediacy about it, an intimacy. It's about a God who is not distant in the clouds, not the transcendent God of the philosophers, but the God of Israel, who comes seeking and searching for the lost sheep. A God who wants to commune with us. A God who wants to bring us back to the fold. A God who is there for us. This could be the beginning of a new development in the story. Our church buildings point to the fact that there's a story behind the building. To sit in a church like I like to do when a country church is open, sometimes on my own, is to think about all the memories, all the stories connected with this building. The laughter, the tears, the baptisms, the weddings, the funerals, the celebrations, the hard times, the whole range of human emotions that is contained in that building over generations. And we are the people of the book, because it's the book and the story and the author behind the story and the book that causes the buildings to be built in the first place, as we gather as a people to remember the story that we are a part of. So the Good Shepherd wants to bring us back to him. This is a time to reconnect. So have a wee look at the 23rd Psalm and ask yourself, what do these words mean to me? And over the next few days, we'll look more at the actual structure of the psalm and some of the elements in it. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, life is full of surprises. It's full of joys and difficulties. It's a rich tapestry of many different experiences. And at the moment, we're all feeling our way, trying to find our way through an unprecedented situation. But in the midst of all of this, may we listen for your voice. Draw near to us and empower us to draw near to you. Amen. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.